Okay?
Okay.
Sounds good?
Okay.
Sounds great.
Never have any doubt to say, am I good enough for this? You are definitely good enough. If you have the passion, if you have the determination, you can always make it. The worst case is that you tried it, don't like it, you try something else.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jacob,
And I'm Leora.
and this is Beyond the Lab. Unfortunately, Hannah could not be with us today, but we do have a very exciting guest that we'd like to introduce.
So, welcome to Beyond the Lab, the podcast where we discuss all things not science with the world's leading scientists. Today, we're honored to host Dr. Shixin Liu, head of the Liu Lab at the Rockefeller University. Dr. Liu's research program focuses on understanding the operating mechanisms of molecular machines that interact with DNA and nucleosomes. His contributions to the field have been recognized with prestigious awards, including the NIH Director's New Innovator Award and the Kimmel Scholar Award. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Liu.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now we're going to begin with an icebreaker. So, Dr. Liu, can you tell me the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I've ever received. The thing that just occurred to me is the piece of advice I received from my postdoctoral advisor. His name is Carlos Bustamante. He's a famous scientist from Peru. He told me, as a scientist, don't be afraid to feel incompetent, because as a scientist, the best place to be is to be at the interface between competence and incompetence, so that you're always poised to make new discoveries that nobody has made before.
Mm-hmm.
If you're always in your comfort zone, it's not necessarily the place you want to be. So if you feel like, oh, there's so much I don't know, and there's so much to be discovered, that's where you should be, and that's where you should be excited about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about you, Jacob?
Well, my favorite piece of advice I think I've ever received is not to pretend that you know something just for the sake of seeming like you know it. I think a lot of us, and especially I know I'm speaking for myself, I definitely fall into the trap sometimes of pretending like I understand something that I don't, or knowing something that I don't, just to seem smarter or seem like I can get around in an area where I'm actually not super comfortable. But I think it's so important to admit that you don't know things, and it can actually be more impressive than pretending to know complicated things.
Yeah, that's so true.
Thank you.
I think my favorite piece of advice I've ever received was that to acknowledge that every single person is living life for the first time. And I feel like we tend to look at people very critically, and when they make mistakes, we, get upset or will criticize other people. But I think we tend to always look at ourselves and think that we're living life for the first time, but it's like everyone's living life for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, especially nowadays, things are happening so fast, such a fast pace.
Yeah.
We all experience new things at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we all experience the same kind of new things, and then we should share our own experiences and discuss it.
So can you tell us a little bit about your childhood? Because you didn't grow up in America.
Yeah, I grew up in China, and I stayed in China until I was 19. That's when I came to US for grad school. So my early childhood was very much like a normal Chinese kid. We study a lot. Our parents have very high expectations for us academically. So I spent a lot of time in school and doing homework, but I did, enjoy things outside the classroom. From early age, I enjoy nature. I enjoy going to the field to see animals and plants and see how they change with seasons. It happened to be that my parents are both biology teachers, middle school biology teachers. I don't know if that's the reason, but they certainly, instilled this interest in nature and life and biology in me at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the reasons I decided to study biology now.
And do you think that when you were in the field, you thought, I want to be a biologist? Or did you just think, I'm exploring right now, I'm enjoying this, discovering these things?
Right. I wouldn't say I'm determined to study biology when I was a 10-year-old kid. I was in general interested in what's happening in the world, in the natural world. But I studied math, physics, chemistry, other things in college, and then only when I was I think a college junior year did I finally decided, okay, biology is the major I decided to spend more time on in grad school. So actually at that time, biology in China was not probably the most popular subject to pursue as PhD. Most of my classmates, they went to physics or computational science because maybe at that time they have the better job prospects. But when I was deciding my major, I thought this is what I want to do. I want to study the secrets of life. There's so much to be learned about how molecules in a cell interact, how they function. And that's where I decided that biology is the career I want to pursue.
And as a kid in elementary school, what were your hours like for school? Because I know in China it's a little bit different than in the US.
Yeah, you would be scared if I told you how much. Tell you how many hours. We get up very early, 6 o'clock, and then we go to school at 7. Before 7, have to arrive in this classroom, and it's class after class after class until 5 or 6 in the afternoon.
Oh my goodness.
And then we come home, have dinner, and then we do homework until 10, 11 o'clock.
This is in elementary school?
Yeah.
Wow.
School.
Wow. And
really crazy.
With all that school time, did you have any?
It's not 5 days a week. It's 6 or 6.5 days a week.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that's a lot of school. Did you have any time to do, did you have any hobbies as a kid other than school?
Yeah, you squeeze in some fun time, between classes. You go outside, play with your friends. There's a lunch break, and then, when you go home, dinner time, and then before homework, you have some free time. You do have some summer vacation and the winter vacation.
And how did you use that free time? Did you, do anything particular that?
Most of the time, just hang out with my friends in the backyard. In general, I spent most of my summer and the winter vacations either at home or with my grandparents in the countryside. But that's where I spend most of the time with the nature. I think that maybe in hindsight, why I got into biology is because in the countryside you have so many things you don't get to see when you're in the city during the school years.
Yeah. And once you got into high school, were there any subjects other than biology or I guess science in general that fascinated you?
Yeah, in high school, physics, I did very bad at physics in the beginning because suddenly from middle school to high school, the difficulty in physics jumped several scales. So I almost failed my first physics test in my first high school year. But then I got better, and I really got interested in the elegance of physics and the basic physical laws. Actually, physics is still one of the important elements in my current lab because we study biology using physical tools. So we're actually researching kind of interface between physics and biology. So the subfield I'm at is called biophysics. So I think nowadays, at Rockefeller as well, many labs are using multidisciplinary tools to study biology, chemistry, physics, math, AI, all these new tools or different kind of ways to study life.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. And I encourage, high school students like you to, even if you decide to study biology in the future, but it's very important to also learn other disciplines and subjects because you never know.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, other kind of things, even language or communication.
Yeah.
Different skills can help you with your main research focus.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the listeners might not realize that science is so interdisciplinary, like you just talked about.
Yeah, also that it's so interesting that you said you almost failed your first physics test, and I feel like people think that, oh, I'm not good at this subject, or like I failed this test so I can't go into this when I'm older, but it's like that's not true. And also school is obviously important, but it's not completely reflective of how it's going to be when you're doing it in real life in real time.
Exactly. It's definitely true that the best researcher, the best scientists I've been seeing, they're not necessarily the best performance in grades. Many of people, brilliant scientists, they're not necessarily doing number one or the top 1% in their grades. As long as you're interested, you're excited about things you do, you have enough passion and the determination, you can always get there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to our next segment, Hannah's favorite segment, but she's not here, but it's your favorite things. So I'm going to start off with, what's your favorite book that you've ever read?
Ooh, I have to go back to my early childhood. That's when I read more. Now I still read, but I spend a lot of time reading research papers. Most of my favorite books are Chinese. There's 4 famous Chinese novels: The Three Kingdoms, or the Journey to the West. Have you heard of Monkey King?
Well, I've heard of Monkey King because there's actually a graphic novel.
Exactly. So the original novel is called the Journey to the West. It's about the monkey, the pig, the monk. The 4 of them go from China to India to search for the Buddhism literature, and then they bring it back to China. So there's a lot of interesting stories of how this group of people how they overcome difficulties on the journey in search for the truth, or in search for their goal, the dream.
Kind of like science a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a favorite color?
I think green.
It's very science.
Yeah, very sciencey.
It's a color of life, right? And then one of the most we use a lot of lasers in the lab to excite molecules, so we can see we can label molecules and see their dynamics. And one of the most commonly used lasers in our lab is a green color.
And what's your favorite dessert?
A good cake is always not bad. Like our lab do a lot of cake for birthdays and the events, and my students, they sometimes order the cake from a place called Lady M.
Oh, I love Lady M. Did you get the one with the 1,000 layers?
Yeah. They're famous for a 1,000-layer cake, but different toppings, right? Some matcha, some strawberries, chocolate. The most recent one we had is, I think it's a strawberry flavor. It was fabulous.
So you can follow that up with, what's your favorite cuisine and your favorite restaurant?
I still Chinese food is the best by far. But in general, Asian food, I enjoy Asian food, Japanese food, Korean food, and Southeast Asian food. European food, I also like. I also like Indian food. I mean, there's no food I don't like. But if you have to pick one, still it's my Chinese stomach.
And do you have any very authentic Chinese restaurant recommendations in the city?
They just opened a new Chinese restaurant called Din Tai Fung. It's like a soup dumplings.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
impossible to book a table, but
it's very viral.
I encourage you to book early. It's an experience. I won't say it's necessarily the most authentic, but the food is there, the decor, and then the things you can taste there. It's different from everyday Chinese you get.
Did you get the cucumber salad? That's very famous.
No.
And the chocolate desserts, yeah.
Funny, I neither of them. I heard of them.
Next time
so
you
many
go, you should
try. Yeah, I did try the soup dumpling. It was great, and then the sesame noodle is also good. But if you do want to get really authentic and affordable Chinese food, I definitely encourage you to go to Flushing.
I've been to a dumpling place in Flushing called Dumpling Galaxy. Have you ever been there?
I've never been, but I've heard good things about it.
It's very great. It's great.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to order because all of the servers only spoke Mandarin, which I guess was maybe a good sign. Yeah.
Order for you.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
But New York is great in terms of different kind of cuisines and cultures.
Yeah, New York City's food is great. Is it as good as China's?
New York has a lot of good Chinese food.
Uh-huh.
Some of them even more authentic than you can get in China, because there's so many Chinese people, different generation of immigrants here in New York City. The food, Chinese food quality here is very high.
Do you have a favorite TV show or movie?
I like to watch, they call prestige TV, like the TV that's like high quality, almost like a movie. I like Breaking Bad. I enjoy Succession. Sopranos. I don't know if you heard of those TV.
Yeah,
of course,
okay,
yeah.
well.
Yeah, I mean, what else?
I know you said you didn't travel when you were younger, but if you travel now, your favorite place to travel or favorite place you've been?
That's another hobby I like, and outside science is travel. I love travel to new places. new countries to experience their food, their culture, and their people. Our family is planning on a trip to Spain in the winter. We've never been, but I'm very excited. We went to Germany and Czech Republic last winter.
Oh, wow.
I went to Peru for a conference a few years ago. That was a really, really great experience. So South America is another place. Japan is great. I just came back from a conference in Japan. Our family went to Japan also last year. But the problem with Japan now is so popular. Everybody's in Japan, so it's so crowded everywhere. But no, there's so many places I want to go to. I want to go to Africa. I want to go to Australia. Those places I've never been because I'm just curious about what's going on there and how people live their life.
I guess you're able to do a lot of traveling when you do science because
yeah, that's one bonus. And what you say about being a scientist, you get to go different places for conferences, for seminars. Again, you do work there, but they also get to experience different places, which is great.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good segue into current life and your hobbies. You said travel is one of your hobbies, but some other hobbies you have?
I like watching sports. I mean, Olympics going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
When you came to my office, I was just watching Olympics.
Oh, I'm sorry we took you away from that.
It's okay. It's almost the end of the day now.
What sport?
I mean, Olympics are all sports, like especially the sport that I don't get to watch regularly. But I'm a big soccer fan. I just watched the Euro Cup and also Copa America. When I was a student, I watched a lot of baseball and basketball, NBA and MLB. But now it's just they have so many games. I don't really have time to follow every day. Yeah, but I do like sports and to take my minds off science and just to watch and relax. I have 2 young daughters and I have a cat. The kids are great because they always put you in the right place. Even though you're a PI, you're a group leader at work, at home you're just a goofy dad. My daughter make fun of me all the time. Say you don't know how to do this. Your English is not authentic. The food you cook it tastes bad.
Now that you're a dad, do you have a favorite dad joke?
It's too embarrassing to mention.
Okay.
But my girls are in China right now with their grandparents.
So nice.
It's the first time after COVID they spent a lengthy time in China, which is great. Because they almost forgot all of their speaking Chinese. So hopefully when they come back this time, they can finally communicate with us in Chinese again. I do think it's useful to learn language, both for your brain and also for practical reasons. You need to know more languages. I wish I know more than just English and Chinese. But I guess it's never too late to learn. How many languages do you guys know?
2 that I can really speak.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so we go to a Jewish school, actually.
Okay.
So we speak English and Hebrew. Or I guess I'd like to say that I speak Hebrew because I've been taking it for like over a decade, but it really has not synced up with my brain yet. So I can kind of speak it. I can understand it basically fluently, but I think Lior is a little bit better than I am.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, and then I took Spanish for about a quarter of a year, freshman year, and then I decided to take engineering instead. So
engineering.
Yeah.
Well, there's some language there can learn.
Coding language.
Yeah, coding languages. I guess we didn't count that, but yeah, I also can speak Spanish a little bit. I've taken it for now 4 years or 3.5. So I'm getting there with both of the languages.
Language is so fascinating.
Yeah, it really is.
And I guess after if after a week where you worked hard, and what's your favorite way to unwind and de-stress?
Just hang out with my kids and my family and we got a cat just a year ago. The girls have been asking for a cat for, I don't know, 7 years. And finally me and my wife came in and said, okay, let's get a cat. So we got one, her name's Connie. We got her when she was just a couple months old. Now she's a year old. That's definitely the attention center of the family. So yeah, take care of her, spend time with my girls. We do have a small house in Long Island, so we'll go there on weekends sometimes just to unwind, be closer to nature, to the ocean.
What does your wife do?
She's also in academia. She studied literature, actually Chinese literature. She teaches Chinese language and literature in Hunter College.
I think what we've kind of picked up on is that academics tend to be married to other academics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
What we've
not always, but yeah.
Yes. So our podcast is, geared towards younger students, high school, college, people who, are thinking about science but aren't 100% sure that that's the area they want to go into. And one way we're hoping is to just show that the people in this field are people and they have hobbies and interests and whatever. So what advice would you give to these people?
Don't be afraid to walk up to so-called famous people and just introduce yourself and then ask questions about their science, about their lives. I wouldn't say there's many more famous people here at Rockefeller than me, but I can tell you every one of the faculty members enjoy talking to young people, high school students, even middle school students, small kids, because these are the next generation in the future. So, if we can convince one or few of you to come, that's our goal. We're excited about it. So I'm happy to do this with you guys, and I'm happy that you're talking to some of the other scientists at Rockefeller.
Yeah.
And never have any doubt to say, am I good enough for this? You are definitely good enough. If you have the passion, if you have the determination, you can always make it. The worst case is that you tried it, don't like it, you try something else.
Is there anything we haven't asked you that you want to say?
No, you guys are very professional. I'm very impressed.
Thank you so much.
Maybe that can be your second career. So what gave you this idea to have a podcast?
So we're doing this elective. That's a science communication elective, and we have a project. As like kind of a final project to create a piece of science communication. And we thought it would be a cool idea to have a podcast for people to listen to who aren't necessarily set on science as a career or even as a subject, as a thing. And for them to kind of meet the people behind it and see that, they're humans behind science.
Because I guess I was thinking about it, and if people would ask me one thing that I've really learned from this program, it would be obviously the stuff that I've researched, but also just that all these people are so nice and so friendly. And, because I've never worked in a lab before. This is my first summer. And that's just one thing that I really learned, is that people are really interesting and fun to talk to. And I wanted to show that to everyone because I feel like people don't always realize that. So, yeah.
Every scientist is a human being. First and foremost. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I think we learned a lot about your life as a kid, and also we talked a little bit about how, science is very interdisciplinary, which I think is something that's so great to stress and something that people forget maybe if they view science as this scary, foreign thing.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, and see you next time on Beyond the Lab. And feel better, Hannah.
Thanks to our interviewee, Dr. Shixin Liu, and thank you for listening. If you like what you heard, please share our podcast with family, friends, and anyone you know who loves science and stories of the people behind it. Beyond the Lab is a production of RockEDU Science Outreach at the Rockefeller University in New York City. It was produced and hosted by Hannah, Leora, and Jacob during their participation in the Summer Science Research Program. It was also produced by Emily Costa and Laura Pelliser with assistance from Lizzie Krish. Our cover art was designed by Jeannie Garbarino, and our theme music is by Blue Dot Sessions. To learn more about Beyond the Lab or RockEDU, please visit www.rockefeller.edu/outreach. And thanks for listening.
The final piece will be how long? 10 minutes? 20 minutes?
Probably around
20, 30 minutes.
20.
I mean, it just depends how long you want to talk for.
Yeah.
I guess if you, sure. Yeah.
Whatever.
As long as you want.
Perfect.